Dave Lawrence, and we are having a special opportunity here. We're backstage at the Blue Note, where the legendary Freddy Cole is doing a Nat King Cole centennial celebration. It's been billed as, and it's a real pleasure because I'm turning to him right now, and he's going to be my very special guest and explain what this tour is all about and give us a little preview of these shows.
Well, it's all about music and several of the songs that Nat recorded and made famous, and then just about being here playing music for the people.
You've already got it started, and it was great. We got to hang the other day, and it was a lot of fun to be with Freddie and to see him again. He's looking sharp and sounding sharp here at the Blue Note. Have you been enjoying the experience?
Yes, it has been very nice. You know, when you first walk into the place, you see how big it is. You say, wow, what is this, a concert grand piano compared to a little spinet? You know, but the sound is good, and the people have been receptive, and that's about all we can do.
That's awesome. Had you ever played Hawaii before?
Yes, I was here before. I was here doing several commercials I should do for the Hilton Hotel. When I was here, we shot a couple of out on the water and what have you. And then I was here another time for some kind of festival. I can't recall what it was, but the guy that had put it on, he was putting on other jazz festivals, and he had a heart attack several years ago. Because I was a big fella, kind of stout fella, good guy, and but that's the only 2 times I've been here.
You have such a, I guess just mentioning your brother is a way of recognizing it. Blessed to grow up in a real musical household. Mom teaching, from what I've read, the art to her children, which included your 3 older brothers, and you learning piano at a really young age. You know, when I talk to a lot of different folks, sometimes that's something that a lot of people have in common, is the experience of having somebody kind of help them out at an early age. You, 5 or 6 on the piano. Explain how that happened and give the credit that Paulina Nancy Cole is obviously due.
Well, my mother was the backbone of all of this, of course. But she never really, you know, take you to the piano and play or do this as people would think they would do. But everybody in my house played, so it was no big deal. You know, we would go and bang on the piano. I had some cousins would come by or whatever. And then later on, as I grew up, I began to mess around with the piano, and then several of my brother's friends would stop by, Duke Ellington and Basie and guys like that. You know, big name dropper, you know. And you would hear something, but still my mind was basically on playing baseball or doing something else outside.
Like a kid would want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
But why were they explaining? Because I was going to ask you that, so you're kind of leading into it anyway. Duke, Basie, Lionel Hampton, Billy. Why were these folks coming over to the house? Like, what was the connection there?
Well, they were good friends of my brothers, my older brothers.
So it was because of his career that they were coming by.
Well, you know, all of them were just out here raking and scraping at that particular time anyway. You know, there was no...
Before making it.
Yeah, before having big names and whatever. And say, if I was in your town, you'd say, hey, man, if you stop by my mom's house, you can get a meal or something, you know, something along those lines.
I get it. It's pretty organic is what you're pointing out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. That's very happening, and that's a heavy. So talk about that too. So a lot of people have both good and bad influences from big brothers, sometimes, and from other family members for that matter. But dialing in on you and big brother, is he 12 years older than you?
Yeah, almost 13 years. Yeah.
Almost, so 13 years older. So what, when you look back, talk about like those early moments when you recall being a little boy. Obviously, we hear about mom getting you set up at 5 or 6. You can flash on both memories of early memories where you think, wow, there's my mom setting me up to learn, and what a crucial thing that was. And also interacting with your brother and the influence that he would obviously play.
Well, it may sound funny, but like I said, we never really talked music around the house at all. People think that when we would all get together, there would be a total conversation about the music, and that's far from the truth. We would just be like an average family, you know. My mother wasn't particularly crazy about teaching us to play. My brother Ike was a very, very fine piano player. He played here in Hawaii several years ago, along with my older brother Eddie. And well, like I said, I'm looking for playing baseball and cowboys and all that. So it wasn't that I really got into the music until I was a little older, you know, and that's when I showed a little interest, and I would take piano lessons.
How old?
Oh, I was in 8, 9, 10 years old, somewhere in that neighborhood, and take lessons on the piano. Dr. Fry was our teacher, and they would always be able to chase me because I'd be gone trying to play, get in and out of home from school, and change my clothes and try to get outside and start playing some ball or something.
That's funny stuff. Well, you were talking about the lessons. You didn't just have early childhood musical education in an organic way through your brothers and through your mom, but it continued with a series of Roosevelt Institute in Chicago, Juilliard School of Music in New York, New England Conservatory in Boston. I went to school at Emerson, right around the corner from that, by the way. Got to throw that in there. Do you give your mom credit for pushing the school end of this, or how do you? I mean, because that's a lot of heavy schools that one cat would go to.
Well, I would say it was my mother and my father. My father was very, very fine man, and he just believed in education. And so while I had a chance to start playing around Chicago, you know, as little as I could play, compared to those guys I was playing out and hanging out with.
Right. Which could be intimidating, I imagine.
But there was no emphasis put on that. You know, you go to school and you do what you got to do.
Did you when it came to the Boston one, because at that time, was Berkeley already open at that time?
Yeah, Berkeley was open. Yeah, they had a lot of guys up there.
What made you want the conservatory?
Doing the conservatory, well, I had been at Juilliard for a hot minute in New York, and my parents thought it would be better. My brother, Nat, thought it would be better that I go to school in Boston, you know. I was known as America's guest while I was in New York, you know. Kind of hard to get to class and messing around. And so it was a good move, and Boston was more earthy.
And you went to how many years there?
I was just up there a couple of years, and then I got, here just last year, a year before that, I got an honorary doctorate.
And that place was right around the corner from Berkeley on that little street there where Stevie's Pizza was.
You remember that pizza place?
I mean, that's like when you live in Hawaii, you had a lot of blessings, but we don't have a whole lot of that Italian style, like corner pizza thing, which you got on the East Coast. So yes, and Supreme Pizza, which was right across the street from Berkeley, which was the best.
Yeah, that was something.
But so when you're there, and did you live right there in that Symphony Hall sort of neighborhood?
Almost. I lived over on Columbus Avenue.
Okay, so more towards Dorchester, Roxbury.
Yeah, I lived on Columbus, 537 Columbus Avenue. Then I moved up into Dorchester, you know, and got a nice apartment, you know. And I like Boston.
What was the scene like back then? Because Boston, the reason I guess I'm so curious is after living there 12 years, you also for some folks who know a lot about music, Boston was the hub in some ways of the folk scene. There was a big beatnik scene prior to that. There ended up being a big punk scene later on. World music, when I lived there in the 90s, had a huge thing. So Boston's had a lot of different kinds of scenes, and you're there. What were the years that you were at the conservatory?
I was in the conservatory in 59, 58, 58, 59.
Describe the scene then.
Well, just like you say, everything happens in Boston. You know, it's always been an educational mecca. And there were some great jazz musicians there, and which was all I was really interested in at the time. You know, we'd play all over town, guys from school, what have you. And, you know, it was swinging. It was swinging.
I can imagine, man. I mean, it was a catalytic moment in there, and Harvard's at Harvard Square had to be a insane scene back then. That was when the beatnik thing was really happening.
Well, they didn't have many jazz clubs over near Harvard Square. They had a couple of them, you know, neighborhood joints.
Right. It was more the folk thing, but it still had to be crazy. I'm just saying, just to experience it, that was such a famous moment in time there in that place.
Oh yeah. Quite exciting for some.
Right, just to see something like that. And now, when we think about that golden era from a really, really long time ago, where so many important things were happening in your life and that have influenced how things went for you, did you and your bro play together?
No, not at all. My brother was a hell of a piano player. I was a banger. No, we didn't play together. I played on a couple of recordings that he made, you know, but I was in New York at the time. No, we never played.
That's amazing. There's when I think of I only got to see you one time. It was 98. You played the Montreal Jazz Festival, and it was on St. Catherine Street at this really cool place called the Spectrum. And you're smiling. It's a great memory for you probably too. And I still remember where I was sitting, and so hot. It was such a great, you know, that's just, I don't have to tell you, it's one of the great places, one of the great jazz festivals, one of the great cities. And you played Where Are You, Brother? And it was Brother, Where Are You? And it was just I got chills, listening to it, thinking, and I always was curious what made you want to cover that jam.
Oh, man, it's I don't know where to start, but you just mentioned something that I haven't even thought about. Brother, Where Are You? Oscar Brown Jr. You know, he was one of the great writers during that time. And the other night, as we were doing a sound check, we fooled around most of the time, and for some reason, I started playing that song. Now, I haven't played it, and I can't remember when. In fact, the guys, the musicians who are with me now, they had never heard it. You know, small boy walked the city streets, hope was in his eyes. He faced the faces of the people he would meet. For one, he could recognize, brother, where are you? And that was one of those, like you say, you know, hippie songs,
Right.
And you'd hear him singing it all down the street doing that. Yeah. Brother, where are you? They said you came this way. Yeah, that was a great tune. Yeah, I got to start relearning it to do it again. It's good too.
It's nice of you to sing a couple lines there for me. That was real nice of you and real powerful. I appreciate it. It's not in the set, huh?
No, I don't have it in the set.
So I got my own. You can sing a couple more lines if you want. I understand. And you've been fortunate through the years. You played along some legendary folks. And as we go to wrap it up, we were mentioning the Montreal thing and cool festival, and you've been at other, you know, very impactful ones too, along the lines. And through those years, are there things that stick out in terms of heroes that you've gotten to interact with musically, that are just people that you would run into, maybe you got to play with, but also just there are occasions like the one we just remembered, which kind of was nice for you, I'm sure, in a nostalgic way to think back to. Got you singing a little bit there. Maybe times that you ran into some cats that you just, along the way, some of your highlight moments.
I got some memories which I'll never be able to get rid of. I got some friends who have been just magnificent friends. That's one of the things I noticed between today's musician and yesteryear is the fact that we have a little more camaraderie. And this is not to say that the guys don't like each other or whatever, but it's a wonderful thing when we run up on each other. It's joy and jubilation, just like the jazz cruise. We've been doing that for the last several years. But it got to be one point we were having a conversation about this same thing. That it got to be like a family reunion. Guys were glad to see each other. They would stop by a different one's venue where they're playing, and there might be a jam session started or anything that happened. And then a lot of guys, if they were like me, love sports. So when we see each other, we're talking about the Dodgers, the Yankees, etc. So I just like to say that I just recorded a song which will be out shortly. It's called
That's my boy over here.
I'll always keep the door a little open. That's the only way I know I can survive. Yeah, that's Richard Rodney Bennett, a piano player who lives in London. He died. He would write some interesting songs. And there were so many guys. Marvin Fisher, who was a great friend of Nat's, he wrote When Sonny Gets Blue. Remember, I recalled Nancy Wilson a little while ago, and she did a great job on that song. And there's so many people that I've known in the business that I'm a blessed person, and I can't say that I didn't enjoy my life, because I have.
You've been a real blessed guy. Final question. We just had the 50th anniversary of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Historic thing. He's one of the few cats I have a framed color poster of at my house. Sort of, I give credit to my mom for influencing me to look at him as a hero throughout my life. And when you reflect, do you have any reflections, thoughts that you want to share, things that came to your mind over the week or from that pivotal time that you obviously lived through?
Well, the other day when they announced it on television, of course, I could tell you exactly where I was when I heard the report. In New York, on our way out to Long Island, it was a steakhouse that we used to play in out there. And I was on my way to work, on my way to the gig. And you just sit numb. You didn't know what to make. No, you didn't know what to make of it. Yeah. I know it's something I hope would never happen again to any of our leaders.
You ever get to meet him?
Yes, I did. I did meet him. His father and my father were very good friends, being in the ministry. My dad was a minister. And
where'd you meet him? Tell the story.
I met him in Atlanta.
Just once?
Yeah. We were on our way down to Alabama to my father. Well, my mother and father were from Montgomery, Alabama. And we were driving from Chicago going down, and we stopped there for a day, I think, in Atlanta. I was only about 8, 9, somewhere in there. My brother Ike and I.
And where did he come? Where you go to his a house? Where was the?
That was his house. We stopped by there, and I think we had a meal, and we're in Atlanta a day or so. And we went on down to Montgomery.
Got to have a meal with the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Well, you didn't. He wasn't a famous person at that time.
But it was him.
It was him. It was definitely him.
That's a heavy one, huh?
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to have had the opportunity to meet him and folks like him.
What a heroic figure. And what a life you have had, my brother.
I've lived a life that's full. Traveled many highways. But more than this, I did it my way.
It's my brother, Freddy Cole, and you have fun. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for having me, and keep swinging and keep jazz alive.
God bless you, brother.
All right.